Angela, spring of 2011, what's the condition of the Labour Party?
In some ways our mood is quite buoyant because we're ahead in the polls, we're getting our policies together, we're leading into local elections and the next general election. But there's also quite a feeling of sort of despair of what the government is doing. Unless we're in government, we can't change it. So that's why these local elections are so important to us, because then we can do things to help people. Because, if you're in opposition, just looking on, you're limited in what you can do. But we know we can do better. We want to take control of councils across the country, and particularly in Thurrock, have a better majority in Thurrock, and really do things that matter to people on the ground. Some
people might say that the coalition is simply doing your dirty work that you never did.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's really fair. We know that under a Labour government there had to have been cuts, undoubtedly, because there was a deficit, but countries across the world saw the deficit, but no government in the world is cutting as harshly, as deeply, as quickly as a coalition. For example, we take tuition fees. We've got to do this because of the deficit. By the time tuition fees come in, these new increased £9,000 a year, according to the coalition, the deficit would have been paid off. So I think that they're using it as a cover for the Tories' dirty work, really. And I have no respect for Lib Dems who said we're not going to vote for this and then quickly rush through the lobbies to do so.
In areas like Thurrock and Basildon, is it hard getting people out? And I've noticed in outside London councils, on days of budget decisions, huge amount of people. And when it comes to EMA, huge amount of people. We've had radio silence from students on EMA and deserted council chambers. That can't be healthy down in South Essex.
It's not, but you may well have found that some of the demonstrations in London have had local students there. And I know, even though I'm not in the House of Commons anymore, in the House of Lords, I still get the postbag and the emails from people who are really upset and very, very worried about this. So they're not taken to the streets of Thurrock, but I think you'll find their feelings are as deep as anybody else's on this.
But Labour are taken to the streets of Thurrock today. Are you hopeful and back in the local election campaign?
Well, the response we've been getting is good from people. They know we can do things better. So let's wait to election day. Never be complacent or cocky in elections. But go out there, talk to people, put your case, and try and win support for the things that really matter.
What do you think will be the type of typical issues on a campaign trail in April 2011?
April 2011 is coming up for this year. The kind of issues being raised with me is, do we have to do the kind of cuts we've seen, for example, in the voluntary sector across them, taking a real hammering. People that day in, day out, through volunteers or small salaries have been doing work to help people, they're seeing their efforts cut. I think some of the selling off of assets we're seeing in the leaflets we're putting out today alarms people. It's really selling off the family silver, not getting much in, but having a long-term reaction and long-term commitment, I suppose, for people who are suffering the effects of these. So those are the kind of issues. What can we do locally that makes a difference to people?
But you mentioned the voluntary sector. Wasn't it the Conservatives' idea is that a lot of voluntary groups will become, I think, self-sustaining, that too many of them, year in, year out, have had their hand out, as opposed to actually growing, developing. Has that been a fair criticism?
I've heard this argument before, they've got their hands out. People have their hands out to give others a hands up. And I think, when you look at the value for money that so many of these organisations provide to the community, how can they go out and fundraise when they're helping some of the most disadvantaged, some of the most vulnerable, some of the people the most ill, people with disabilities? Where are they going to fundraise from? And lots of those people, particularly those who are disabled, are seeing their benefits cut. So how can they fundraise more money? This is part of the council working with the voluntary sector to help local people, and they've decided they don't want to do that. And I think to say, go out and raise money, for those of us that try and raise money for charities, it's not easy.